Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. Guys, let me know if you're getting a signal there. And what's happening is this rocket has been rising and dropping in very low high points and very low points, and it's still in the air, and it's making its second approach today to the U.S. You got it. Thank you. What you're dealing with now, somehow it has made it around again. It is now at 67.88 miles. Check this out. This path is going to bring it in between Abilene and Dallas, Texas, and over Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're going to pull this up somewhat. Now, again, Abilene is just to the left of this. The air base there, Dallas, Texas is here. Tulsa, Oklahoma is just above that. Let's see what we can get if I can get it closer. There. Again, it's hard to get it exactly where I want it here. I want to point out one other thing, though. This is what we're dealing with coming here. And I want to go to flight aware. That's tracking the air flights over the U.S. right now. And again, I'm going to try to get it a little bit closer, guys. Let's see if I can. There. Now, Dallas is here. Abilene is just on the other side of this, and you've got Oklahoma. It's passing directly over Tulsa, if it makes it that far, up through Missouri. Check this out: Wisconsin, west of Chicago, over the Great Lakes into Canada. Now, switching to flight aware. Sorry, guys, it took just a moment for that to pull up. This is the air traffic. Now, our path, incoming path, is going to come through Mexico, and you're looking at the Dallas Fort Worth area airport right there, then Houston Airport right below it. I know it's a little hard to see, but that track of this satellite is bringing it right through this part of the U.S., right along this area. So it's it's getting very low in altitude. We don't know why it's still in the air, other than the fact that we've never had an object this large return like this. A lot of this debris was supposed to float for thousands of years in outer orbit, and so far it's held together. It just failed to continue to fire. So right now, if looking at the air traffic here, I was hoping to see it starting to part somewhat, just in recognition of what's going to pass through this area very quickly. Let me get this a little closer if I can. And I don't see that yet. I don't see the air traffic. I'm trying to pull up a larger screen here. A lot of people are watching this also. I don't see that traffic spreading out yet. I was hoping it would, just in case. Guys, if you remember when the space shuttle came down, there was a lot of debris, and including bodies that hit the ground, and there were sonic booms. And this rocket is traveling 17,000 miles an hour. So more than likely, there will be some booming. I'm just hoping that the airlines and people like that are paying attention to this. I'm going to go back now to the real-time tracker. And what you're seeing, it's going to come in west of Guadalajara, Mexico. It's moving so fast, guys. It's going to be over the U.S. before you know it. Just a few minutes after we had gotten off from the earlier video, this thing was up on the East Coast. That's how fast we're dealing at 17,000 miles an hour. Are the in complete rotation around our planet in 88 minutes. Notice that the altitude is 6864, 6865, so it's made a little bounce there. I think it's hitting and skirting across the atmosphere at this point, the upper atmosphere. We don't know if it's breaking apart because that would not be indicated on this. Guys, I'm going to let this play. I'm going to be back and forth between my mixer here. But again, look at it right now coming into the Texas area. Again, moving, it's already past San Antonio. It's west and north of Austin, Texas now. Again, this path is almost dead center between the Abilene Air Base in Texas and Dallas. So, guys, at this altitude, it's already very low. We don't know where it's going to come down. We don't know what will be the amount of debris that is intact, but we're getting very close to some type of impact. We didn't think it would make it around this time, but it's doing it. But as it rises back in altitude, it's only going to do it a few miles this time instead of 20 or 30 miles, and you see it start to drop again. It's going up very quickly, coming back down very quickly. So, you guys, check this out. East of Kansas City, just west of Oklahoma City, and I think the path is just directly over Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we'll be reaching that point very quickly for you guys there. If I don't know if you can see anything at this height, you wouldn't unless it was starting to break apart. But again, I'm going to leave this thing on just a few minutes. I'd like to pay attention to the comments. This is what we're dealing with. You can see 7046 as far as the altitude above our planet. 75 was supposed to be the breakup point. It's climbing back up. I get it's all again, like I said, it's not rising very far, not dropping very far. It's kind of staying right in this pattern. We are dealing with still the speed at 4.87 miles per second. We haven't seen it really slow down yet. There could be a rapid reduction in forward speed as this thing starts to get into serious friction, if you understand what I'm saying. Now we're approaching Kansas City, just south of there. Jay Silva, I don't know about an EMP. We don't know if if there was a satellite aboard. Supposedly it was a dummy load. Remember, or if it wasn't, if they got the satellite out because the shroud is off the cone where that would have been housed. So I don't know. We are dealing with a one world system now. So a lot of the information is all tied together. One hand knows what the other hand is doing, but everybody except you and me. But we're dealing with right now altitude 71 miles, rising 71.38. So it's so large, maybe it's just not breaking up yet as it's getting into these lower altitudes. Intact. Some people are estimating at 100 tons. That's a lot, guys. That's a lot of weight to be dealing with. 200 feet long. The entire thing, except for that cone, is supposedly still intact. Now you're approaching east or west of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And let me change this map as we move up into Canada. almost due west of Milwaukee, going into Wisconsin. It's going to cross Lake Superior, the southern section of James Bay, go into northwestern across northwestern Quebec in this particular orbit. Now, 7194 on the altitude, 7195, 96. It's moving very fast right now, also, guys. Notice how quickly it's changing altitude. That has a lot to do with speed and the elevation. Wayne, are you moving permanently from the west coast to the east coast, or are you just making a trip? Correct, Axel Jeremy. The orbit is elliptical. It's not a circle. That's right. We're getting down, though, to where we're not seeing a lot of change between the low pass and the high passes. That was the point. Um, we don't know if it's tumbling or straight shooter yet either, Axel Jeremy. Excuse me, Oddball. We don't know that yet. This would not indicate it. This particular model will not indicate that. Simply tracking the main object, or if it was breaking apart, where the main object would still be located. You would not see the fragments here once it started that. But 7261, 7263, it's still slight climbing. And it's amazing to see something this large holding together this long. Now, there, there's information out that we're minutes away, according to NASA, from a re-entry. They keep backing it up. When I started this live feed, it was only about 18 minutes. And I'll have to do a couple of changes to go back and check that information because they keep backing it up as this thing continues to fly. We'll put it that way. Right at 73 miles in altitude. So we're seeing it bounce. Now, a low pass, guys, was earlier, it was in the 60s on the last low pass. So that's just telling you how uh, close this thing is getting to re entry. Yeah, it belongs to Russia. And I said this in the last video. A lot of these, the the theory behind all of this, we're not worried about anything but getting that rocket there. We don't care where it falls, and that applies across the board. They hope that it'll hit in the ocean because we have 70% water, but you never know. There's actually been one human that we know of, a lady in Texas, I think in 71, that was hit with debris. She survived it, but it was falling debris from a satellite or something. I can't remember. But she survived that. And you don't see a lot of those, of that information out there. But now we're up and getting into Quebec. That's how fast it's moving. At 7349, 7351, we still have a rise in altitude. So all we can do is keep an eye on it, guys. Looking at the uh, Smirnoff shots for everyone. I got you. Yes, definitely Russian. Thank you, Razzle Basel GK from the UK. Yeah, we could. I'll move this down just a little. We could have an ocean impact. Let's get up a little further, see where we're headed here. And let me back that out some. And what you're seeing now, we're going to cross, get back into the ocean here, go over the southern tip of Greenland, just south of Iceland. Now, notice these orbits are moving from the right of this image or east, left to the west. The next track will be in also across the U.S., but closer to California if it makes it again. What will be interesting and is to watch if you go to flightaware.com. Let me see if I can get you that link. That's it. I'll just put in the chat, guys. I'll put it up under this flightaware.com/live. Just click there. It's going to take you. And it would, again, that's a worldwide air traffic, not just the U.S. So you can move that around just like you can move this map around. And if you suddenly started to see a lot of airlines clearing space, that may be indications that someone is letting them know that we've got debris coming down. That's the point of that. We don't have a lot of other tools to look at, but these are two of them. Yeah, I understand. I don't know why that's the way it is about the 7 days, but people are just different. You know how it is. But guys, this is getting very interesting. Now would be the time for this thing to fall, getting back over the water. Definitely once it, if it'll make it through Greenland, you're under the gun again. If it continues on this path again, NASA is. Let me check and see if I can get the NASA information on their estimated time of reentry. Hold, give me just 1 second. Okay, NASA's clock has went to zero. They could reset that in about 10 minutes. We will see. But their clock now, like I said, it was at 16 or 18 minutes as I was starting this, is now blanked out. That's interesting, but that could be just that that's was where the countdown was, and if it's still flying, then they will reset it. I will update you on that. You guys are welcome. No problem at all. Well, proof. I don't know why they don't shoot it down over the ocean. I think George Bush Jr. shot one down. Had the Navy shoot one down back when he was president. But things are a lot different now. Our leadership in the country has changed quite a bit. Maybe they feel it's no threat. I don't know. But that has happened before. Someone may can look that up about Bush shooting down. It may have been a satellite, could have been a rocket. I don't remember. It was a while back, but it has happened before. I don't know why no one on the news is covering it at all. Information is getting hard to find about a lot of different things. If it's not going to, there's a main narrative. Let me say this: worldwide being pushed um, ad nauseum. You know what it is. What is the thing being pushed? Nothing can take away from that right now because that narrative is starting to slip out of the grip of the controlling people. They notice it. That's why they're pushing what they're pushing now. This would more than likely, was it Skylab 79? Thank you, Wayne. Um, that they can't break that narrative right now. It has got to maintain. They can't let the way it's going go much longer because people are waking up. I think that may have a lot to do with it. Well, you know who controls the fake news. Thank you, Michael. So that we really don't know. It's really getting hard to get information to at this time. But a lot is going on. I mentioned in the last video that the power system, the new power system that was going up today, has been put off for 2 weeks. The airlines and the I think AT&T and T-Mobile are fighting over that, saying it could cause interference with navigation in the airplanes, having to do with, I think, them knowing their altitude from the ground is one of the main problems. When you come in and you have some assisted landing on the big planes in bad weather or something, they can almost come down and land themselves, but it has something to do with affecting that ability. And so that's supposedly the argument. Don Burge, haven't heard that. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, January the 19th. Don't know about what's aboard this thing, Brandon. We don't know because Russia has clamped down on much information coming out of there. The last few things that were done, they launched it. There was a celebration kind of nationwide about it being launched, being so big. And then the only thing really said was they had lost control of it. That was probably from pressure of other agencies around the world saying our radar and satellites are indicating you have lost control, and so they probably had to fess up at that point. We don't know. Yeah, Russian outlet claims it's a dummy payload, excuse me, a mass simulator. Okay, can someone tell me what a mass simulator is? I've read this also, just asking someone. I've read the fact that that's what they're saying. Let me put it that way. But I, in no way, with all the countries on the verge of having to go to some type of crypto or digital currency, and that's about to happen, and the paper money will be useless. With that happening, um, I don't see how they're spending that type of money on a dummy payload. Think about it. That's their only excuse. Oh, I didn't mean to do it. It's one of those things, when someone messes up. Oh, it was just we were just playing. Right. You've seen it 100 times. Mass simulator stands for BS. I think so, and we may be looking at a mass simulation of some type. Wherever they get this, but Russia is no worse than the other space agencies that we have on this planet. Not just picking on them at all, because it would be the same with any of them. China, NASA, all the same. Um, yeah, you're right. I don't think it's a dummy payload. No one wastes this kind of money. They sure don't, especially China. China likes it. They spend money, but it's not usually wasted. Their military is built up. Their space agency is built up very strongly. China and Russia. I don't see them doing this just for the hell of it. Let's see what we've got now. We're at 74.48. It's starting to drop, 74.47. In the last low pass, we were I think, around 67 miles in altitude. Now, if you look at this, I'm trying to bring this up a little closer. You're north of the British Isles. And if I can get it closer, we can give you guys in Europe a little better idea. Now, notice that we're out of the daylight. The satellite, I mean, the rocket is. And so you guys in Europe may, if it starts to break up, you may get some fireworks in the sky. Let's see what we've got here. Now, you can see we're going to come in south of Norway. Remember, a pass or so ago, it came in through Norway, Poland, Istanbul through Turkey. It's going to come over the Middle East, guys, Israel through Saudi Arabia. And so there's our next path right there. You guys in Norway, it's going to just about skirt your southern coast. Check that out. It's dropping now 74.1 as far as the miles above the planet, 74.08. We don't know where this is going to drop to. It's going to be interesting to see. I just don't know how much longer it's going to remain in flight. Let me take another look at the NASA clock and let's see if they're doing anything to reset that. Guys, not yet. It's the clock. The countdown to reentry is still at zero. Still at zero. So I don't know if they're going to reset it, what they're doing, but that was the point of reentry. Altitude still dropping, 73, 78. Guys, I know it can be monotonous doing this. We've tracked some big stuff before, and it took a week or two to do it. But this is very interesting information here. Again, flightaware.com. You see that link on the video itself. Go there, check out. Right now, you could look at the over Poland in that area. See if you see any planes clearing that area out. I'll put it again in the comments, that link, just some tools we can use. There we go, flightaware.com/live. And that link will take you right to it, and you can move that map around on the planet itself. It's hard for me to do it here and do this and keep it all together. Thank you, Chris. That boilerplate spacecraft, also known as a mass simulator. Um, Let me pull it. It's moving very quickly here. Stop it. A non functional craft or payload that is used to test various configurations and basic size, load, and handling characteristics of a rocket. Uh, Thank you, Chris. Again, they're not going to do that. They're not going to use that much money, time, and effort, man hours for any simulation right now. I just don't see it. But thank you for that information. That's what they're saying it is, and I appreciate it. It's passing over Island as per emergency associate Ron Tyler a few minutes ago. So, Eve, how is he watching it, if you don't mind coming in and telling us? Hey, Nick, welcome. Again, Eve is saying it's passing over Iceland as per emergency associates slash Ron Tyler a few minutes ago. Maybe they're watching this, I don't know, or they have some type of radar information. Eve, if you can let us know what he's using, we would appreciate it. Pretty close to Damascus, Syria. Moving quickly. I'll pull this up a little more this time. Yeah, there's problems all across this area. If you guys are not aware of this section of Europe, it's about to drop down through there. A lot of protest, a lot of saber rattling. You've all seen that. It happens a lot, and people are worried about Russia and the U.S. Getting in a war. That's almost never happened. There's been saber rattling since the beginning, but we always ended up almost on the same side. When you see politicians attack other politicians, they always want to blame Russia when it was actually another large nation we don't have to mention here. You know what I'm talking about, guys. So how many billions and trillions of dollars have been spent over the saber rattling of the fear of Russia? How many nuclear weapons were blown up and tested around the planet over the fear of the U.S. and Russia, when actually maybe there was no fear that should have been there? It was just an excuse for a certain group of people to become extremely wealthy. You understand what I'm saying, guys? Now our altitude is 7179, still dropping. Bucharest. This thing is moving north and east of your area. It's going to move across the Black Sea in a moment, and just east of Istanbul, Ankara, Turkey, right over you guys, Damascus, Syria, Amman, Jordan. Some of you guys in Israel may see this thing. Syria, Cairo, Egypt. You may get to see some of this. It's nighttime there. Remember, we are not, this section, it is nighttime. We are at 7143 altitude, 7141. So we're still dropping. Speed is being maintained at 487 miles per second. That's about 17,000 or so miles an hour. And that should create, as the space shuttle that came back and was destroyed, it created sonic booms also. So this is larger, heavier, I think, and out of control. And I'm going to move this off the screen. That will help some, if I can find it. But again, that is flight aware, guys. And we're watching that because they should clear out, because we know that parts of the shuttle, even bodies, hit the ground, and that's going to come through any airspace. See, may have to, let's see if this will get it off there. There we go. Okay, found it. It's way up in the comments. And we see a rapid descent over Turkey now, and right through Damascus, Saudi Arabia. It will be back over the oceans before long. We'll start to get a track of the next pass just very shortly. And I'm going to try to back that out. We'll see if they're started already looking at a next pass. Now, they have not extended it out. You see it right here. This is where it's going to start. It's going to come right over the equator here. And again, somewhere along the west coast, right in this area. In just a few minutes, this thing should be tracking this next orbit. I don't know how it will make it there. We're below 69 miles, 69.86 now. And it went a little lower than this the last pass. But that's what we're dealing with. If we move this map over, we're going to be dropping again through Saudi Arabia, below Australia, below New Zealand, coming back up. Hawaii's over here, guys. And if you notice, if you're looking at air traffic, there's a tremendous amount of air traffic headed directly to Hawaii. I guess a lot of people are escaping the colder weather, but man, it is packed in the air going that way right now. But again, this other path should bring it up and possibly California as far as the entry point. That would bring it up through Nevada. I hate to say too much about that till we see this extended out. Pull this back in. We're now over the Middle East. You guys in Israel may have seen this. Saudi Arabia, you're up next. Again, it's nighttime there. Altitude is 69.21, 69.18, still dropping. So we're about 5 or 6 miles now below what is the average re-entry point. What we're dealing with, though, is an object intact that was not supposed to do what it's doing now. It's supposed to be in pieces, and those pieces were supposed to float as a lot of space junk. And coming back down very quickly. 68, 95, 93, still dropping. Yeah, it could be lighting up any minute, VZ Avalon. And there's your fight. Aware. I'll put that back in the comments. I won't put it back over the screen, but look at your comments now. And again, if you can, if you're in an area that's approaching, look at flight aware. If they start scrambling, you know that the radar and NORAD and people like that are telling them, getting in touch with the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, and telling them they need to clear this area. So that, again, is another tool. I'm going to stay on a little while longer, Tricia. I kind of hated to get off when I did earlier, but I had just, it's been kind of a busy few days. Now we're over Saudi Arabia, 68.34, still dropping, 68.33. If you're boosted, you're protected. There you go. There you go. Maybe it would be better not to be. Maybe it would be better to be hit by the rocket. Who knows? Well, the reason it's lower right now over land is because it's getting close to the equator, and that's the widest point or the closest point of its orbit. So that's one of the reasons you see that. Shoot it, huh, Greg? I hear you. TMO Customs, thank you very much. Flight Aware shows a clear path in front of it now. Are they disconnected? Are they watching it? They're not worried about it? Don't know. Max Folder, how far into Revelations do you think we are? Um, we're there. We're in part of the tribulation of man. We're not at the end of the tribulation of man, and that ends right before the wrath of God. And that's what Christ kept telling us in Matthew and Mark and Luke. And it's in those days after the tribulation, we will see the Son of Man return. And he's talking about the tribulation of man. And what are we seeing right now? Who is causing the tribulation on this planet? We know that there's an evil influence over it all, but it's man causing it upon man. In other words, the mandates and the wars and everything else, that's man at the top, forcing it upon the rest of mankind. It is the tribulation of man, and we are there. We're there. And as usual, the U.S. is the last safe spot, and it's becoming less and less by the day. But if you look around some other places on the planet, you can see they are in dire straits compared to what we are. Just you have to pay attention. There's not a lot you can talk about, but you can see that there's places in Asia that people are very hungry right now. Things like that. Uh, no, that's Denise. I'm sorry to disagree with that, but if whatever you whatever you think rapture is, Christ said that his angels will come to, and right at the end of the tribulation of man, think about it, and gather folks from the four corners of the earth. That's not at the end of tribulation. I mean, at the beginning of tribulation. That's at the beginning of the wrath of God. Be able to rightly divide that so you're not caught off guard. Read Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, and you'll see this. And look into Revelation. But if you want to call the angels gathering back the rapture, that's up to you. But when it occurs, is not up to you. It's up to the Word, and the Word says that event occurs after the tribulation of man. You're not going to see the wrath of God if that occurs to you, but you will see the tribulation of man, and you are seeing it now. There's no pre-trib rapture; it's pre-wrath. Thank you, and guys, and that's exactly right. But I say that not to be insulting, but so that people are not caught off guard. Because some people will just become frantic. Oh, why am I still here? Why? Because you're not putting the timing together right. Okay, Sean, whatever you think, buddy, but that's not scriptural. Sorry. For 10, 20 years, I've been doing um, writings and videos for 12 years about this and explain it very deeply in the Bible. And most of you know that. And again, it's not to go against you. It's not in any way like that. It's simply teaching the word in proper order. That's right, Jeff. It is. It is false teaching, and it is to give false hope. It's kind of like Trump is coming back, right? Well, if you believe that or you even really desire that, you're in very deep trouble. Remember who started warp speed? Not to talk about it much. Think about it. The people, remember when we talk about who is the Antichrist, what does it say? And it's like the world is surprised. It says, "Is this the man that deceived the whole world? Is this the man?" So it isn't someone that we're suspecting. You see what I mean? We're not. It's not like it's Trump that we know, or Putin, or anyone else that we're thinking it is, because we are caught off guard totally. Again, is this the man when it is discovered? So just, be patient with it. Keep your heads up. Keep on doing the right thing, regardless of when it happens. Another thing I want to talk about that is many of you are familiar with the parable of the tares, and that has a lot to do with this conversation. And once the good man had put the seed out, the devil came along and he put tares and mixed in with that good wheat. And when the angels saw it, they said, Lord, do you want us to go down and rip the tares up? And the Lord said, no. If you do that, you're going to destroy everything. He's talking about our planet. He's talking about destroying everyone. In other words, for him to do that, to take out all the evil right now, it's going to take out a lot of good people. I hope you understand that. So when you say, please, Lord, come quickly, be very careful because he's got his timing. He doesn't want to pull up everything. Not going to do it. He's going to wait for everything to ripen. Then he's going to pull the tares up for the fire. Read it. But the good wheat will be put in his barn. Or maybe you can think it of as the mansions. Whatever it is, he's very hesitant to create that moment of separation because it's going to be devastating to the everyone when that happens. And that's when I believe when Christ sets his foot down, the greatest earthquake ever known happens on this earth. And I think that is the moment that a lot of people are going to be changed. Maybe simply because you got killed in the earthquake, whatever you want to call it, rapture, whatever. But that's the moment between the tribulation of man and the wrath of God. So, you know, that and I've studied it a long time. Again, it's not to argue, but I do the biblical videos to try to help people and to kind of wake you up a little bit, and more than anything, make you go there and prove me wrong, because you're going to learn stuff, and you'll see that I'm trying to be very close as I can to the truth on this thing. Yeah, there's no need to be scared. There's no need to be scared because when that moment comes, think of how joyous it's going to be out of this body, out of the one that depends on your age and other things, out of the painful, fragile shell that we live in now into our eternal body. So it is something to look forward to, but it's up to God, and He doesn't want to do it until everything is ripe, both the good wheat and the tares. We don't know the depth of His understanding, so we go with that. Um, are you going to be in the GW show later? Let me see. I'm not sure what you're asking me there. I may have missed the meaning of that. Will I be in the GW show later? Maybe be more elaborate and I can answer that. Let's see. New comments. Whatever, Fly. Go ahead. If you want to turn the volume down, go ahead. It's you're dealing with what's going to happen to you, not me. So if you think the first one coming is going to rapture you out of here, you're going to go early, then you've just been deceived by Satan, because beware of the one coming first saying, I am Christ. So if you're not properly in depth with the word of God, you're going to jump on that first train. Oh, I'm ready to get raptured out of here. But that's not what the Bible says. We're not at that point. And yet it says, Christ said there's the first one coming is the Antichrist. So jump on that train if you want to, buddy. Have at it. Okay? Have at it. You're going to regret it when you realize and you wake up what train you're on. You didn't wait. You believed in the pre-rapture because you wanted an easy way out. Not just talking to you, but anybody believes that is looking for an easy way out when Christ said he's going to refine you like silver in the fire. He doesn't want weak warriors in these end times. He wants people that will stand up and fight. Global Witness, thank you. Are they on tonight? Is Derek and them on tonight? If so, I can sure call in. I haven't talked with him. Matter of fact, I haven't checked my email this afternoon. He may have got in touch with me, but I will definitely call into Global Witness. Thank you. Yep. And there will be many antichrists. It's not just one. When you look at these false preachers and world leaders in Rome and across the world, there's many antichrists now. It simply means they are against the true teachings. Pre-trib is just escapism. That's correct. And what God wants is his warriors. He doesn't want someone who wants to run out the back door now. So study, make sure you understand where you're at. Make sure you understand when Christ is coming, not the first one coming, because that's the one that's going to be the pre-trib rapture, straight on the devil's road. Because why? You gave in too quickly. You didn't listen. You didn't listen to Christ saying, the first one coming is not me. If it's in the desert, wherever it's at, don't go there because I'm coming in the clouds. And if you look at my video about 3 or 4 weeks ago when we're talking about it grows, the sun and the stars are blacked out. And we talk about why. And we talk about Ezekiel in the flying chariots and the chariots of fire and that coming back. Guys, that's how it's going to happen. That's how it's happened in history in the Old Testament before, and that's what's going to happen now. And so you've got to be, there's nobody going to float out of here like a butterfly. Sean, later, buddy. Sorry. But you can just put it on the shelf in the back of your mind. Think about it. Think about this. Do you want to be the one deceived, or would you rather go in and dig deep and make sure you didn't make a mistake? There's nothing in the Bible that says, oh, if you miss the rapture train, you're lost. Nothing is, that's what preachers teach. Stand here till Christ comes in the clouds. Satan could try to fake that, I suppose, but you'll know. You're going to know when the real one sets his foot down here. If Satan comes and you want to jump on a false rapture train, and we haven't seen the greatest earthquake in the world, that's when Christ said, I'm coming back. Put my foot down on that Mount of Olives, and I'm going to shake this joint up, and it's going to be the worst you've ever seen. Imagine that. All right, our rocket now is altitude 68.27. Hasn't come down yet, starting to try to rise back up again. Let me back this out, guys, so we'll know where it's at. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to get into it. Now we're over the Indian Ocean. Again, you can see it's going to drop below Australia, start looping up below New Zealand, and that's going to bring it back up again through the, let's see if they've updated that track, by the way. Yep, they sure have. I knew that wouldn't take long. Let's see what we got here. Los Angeles. Can you guys see that? Right there, Los Angeles. If I can get it closer. If it makes it this far, this will be the path. And this is where the FFA needs to really get on top of this airline flights. Los Angeles, Fresno, Nevada, just north of Salt Lake City, north and northwest of the Great Salt Lakes, going up through the Idaho, into Idaho, over the Yellowstone, Wyoming here, Montana, North Dakota. Again, we back over Canada from that point. How long can this thing hold up? NASA's clock has been off now for 20 or 30 minutes on their countdown, and I'll check that again just to make sure. Guys, they have not reset that clock from the countdown. It's still at 0. So I think they're expecting any minute also. I'm going to back this out a little. But again, LA, this area, looks like you're kind of under the gun for the next pass. So you got a large airport there. That would be the worst scene or the worst possible scenario if it were to fall on land, would be near a big airport or something like that. A lot of people could get hurt. We hope that doesn't happen. All we can do is track it at this point. Back out. Let's see where we're at. If we can find the track on this thing. Let's back on out a little further here. There we go. Indian Ocean showing it here. Altitude is 71.31 miles, still bouncing back up. Yep, right over Yellowstone. Now, I don't think that people's ask about tsunamis and if it hits certain areas, would there be a quake? Um, it's not that big. I don't think it's that big to do that type of damage. It would be more of impact into a city or through airline traffic or something. I don't think we would see a big disaster from it. And you could, I just don't think it's that big to do that with. But now it's about to come back into daylight. That's how fast this thing is traveling. Think about that. And we'll be watching the path through Southern California before long at all. Junkfinger Jimmy, you could be right because of the size of this. Calico 45, 20 tons is a very low estimate because the fact that it did not use much of its fuel. That's one of the reasons that it could be. Some people say up to 100 tons. And oh, yeah, a nuclear power station, you're exactly right. That would not be good at all. And we hope that doesn't happen. Again, the quickest way I'd know as tracking this would be go back to flightaware.com and look at that and see if the FAA gets on top of this. They have got to have a tremendous amount of information pumping in to the airlines now because the airline pilots, they know if there's a solar flare, increase in solar wind speed, CMEs, they know all of that. They try to avoid it. Yeah, Calico, some people are saying an estimate of 100 tons because if you look at the size of it and all the stages are still together, 20 tons looks like a low estimate to me. And that could be just one of the stages. The information is very hard to get right now. Other than there was one of the aeronautics industry specialists said that not verbatim, but he said it was not meant to come down this way. It was meant to orbit the Earth for possibly thousands of years. And so that's about it. Let's see. Need shooting down now, John. Yeah, if they were going to do that, it would need to be done over water. That's for sure. Not on not as it's approaching land and not over land. But listen, the way some people are doing now, that's running things. Hell, I don't doubt anything they do. It's almost been a self-destruct pattern for a lot of our upper agencies for the last year. Complete self-destruction, and I think that's on purpose. Um, you may be right. They may know exactly where it's going to impact. They do that with the satellites once they get to a certain area and certain altitude, but those are usually controlled descents. They know the satellite is worn out, it's getting old or whatever, and they know more about it. This thing is much larger than that, and we just haven't had anything this large yet to deal with like this. You're saying the U.S. has extra fighter jets over the U.S.? Could be. Um, could be. I wouldn't doubt it. Just to kind of, in case they have to come up on this thing, they could get behind it once it re-entered, slows down, and possibly take it down. But I hope they don't do it over the U.S. If they feel that that's necessary, they should get off the west coast south of Los Angeles, a few hundred miles or more, and do that. But again, there's a tremendous amount of traffic right now between L.A. and Honolulu, Hawaii. The air is full of aircraft. Sounds like an intel gathering. Hell, you don't know. We don't know. It's getting mighty low though right now. It could be have been gathering intel the entire time this is happening, but they have satellites up there that do that 24/7. Well, does it contain radio active elements? That would I would only say yes if, like I said, I don't think it was a dummy payroll. And a lot of satellites have a nuclear generator power bank so that they can stay up for a long time. That and their solar panels. So, but if the cowling came off, and again, I don't think it was a dummy payload, the satellite did not launch out of that compartment, uh, then we may be dealing with that. And I think that has, when the older satellites come down and it's a controlled descent, they have pretty much spent their nuclear power. Possibly some of it still left, parts of the aircraft or radioactive, things like that. But we're not, they're not going to tell you about it if it is. We won't hear much about it. And I don't think it would be enough for anything like an EMP or anything like that. But if it hit in a area where a lot of folks are, there could be some radiation exposure there if that is even the scenario. Again, my best bet is that they opened that cowling, they got their payload out, whatever type satellite that is going to be, and then they lost control of the rockets. But they said it was a dummy load. Wouldn't you say it was a dummy load if it was a military spy satellite? Yep. And that brings about another question. How much of the amount of rockets that we see go up for different projects, space shuttle, satellites, Mars, moon, sun, how many are really doing that? How much of that money is really going somewhere else? Or maybe it's going to those agencies, but not for the causes that we see. They've designed a moon base now that's self-sufficient. That's already in the planning with nuclear generators underground in case. And by the way, that the plans, I've seen them on this moon base, has a sperm bank and a seed bank underground. And they're saying it's in case the population on the planet is pretty much wiped out. They can go there and have some type of reestablishment of civilization. So who knows? But our assignment is pretty low on the pole, and all we can do is watch what we know about. I don't work for NASA. Don't work for the government. I work for myself. I have most of my life, and that's how I prefer it. 30 air tankers are up. Where's that located at? Well, now, whether you're saying it may run out of fuel now, it may not be using any fuel unless they're trying to give it some last minute boosters. They say they lost control with it, or they lost the ability to fire one of the main segments. Okay, but if they have some small boosters where they can try to get this thing coming in at a different angle, I don't know. That may be part of what we're seeing, uh, but I don't know. We are back up at 74 miles in elevation, and this thing is supposed to have been in the dirt by now. Moon is cheese. Well, I wouldn't doubt anything these days. Automatic sky. Donna, sorry, I can't help you there. I've been doing this a lot longer than those people have. Okay. And just, don't get upset if you don't agree biblically because they love division. We see that now. Either you got the V or you ain't got it, and they don't want you hanging around together. Don't go to Christmas together, whatever. Same way with religion. The truth, though, won't separate you, but it's following false preachers and false teachers that does the separation. Monkey Works, Glass FX, thank you for saying that. What is Monkey Live? Is he saying anything about this? Because he's probably the best at tracking aircraft that we have in the YouTube channel, in the YouTube family. Monkey Works. Guys, if you haven't seen his YouTube channel, that's basically what he does. He's kind of a pepper patriot and does a lot. He's military, ex-military, I think, and does a lot of this tracking. He knows a lot about the planes. Um, and so I'm glad you mentioned that. But um, if you know if he's up, that would be interesting, guy. But look, guys, if you want to look at if he's live, Monkey Works, WORX, one word on YouTube. A lot of air flight. I think he uses Flight Aware and Flight Trader and get some of the military information. Also, let's see what we got here. Monkey Works. Is that how you spell it? WERX. Thank you. Well, I'd record that phone call if you have to make it. I'd like to listen to that. Yeah, some people saying 66 miles, some people saying 55 miles in altitude. Um, uh, that could be true to Lock 16, but he does show a lot of the maps, okay? When it comes down to 55 miles, could be this is a different animal. We've never tracked anything, nor has uh, NORAD or anybody else tracked anything this large and intact. Monkey's not live. Okay, then that it would be a good time to be live. He may be tied up, but yeah, with the again, some people are saying 66 miles, some people 55 miles before it breaks up. The average satellite reentry problem point is 75.6 miles. You can look that up. Don't know why this thing's holding together this long. It could be just because of the integrity of the design and the size of it. Right now, it is due south of Australia, very near Antarctica. About to start a northwest turn northward, south of New Zealand. Check that out. And if you just came in, looks like just north of LA will be the next crossing point if it makes it through the Pacific Ocean. I'm not sure if you can see it with a telescope or not. Not sure. It's traveling at 17,000 miles an hour, and you may have some problem focusing in that. Um, you may do better unless you got a good camera and you can track as it comes in now and starts to break apart. That may be a different story, but with just probably a good telephoto lens, 35 millimeter or something, possibly even with a cell phone, you can get pictures of this thing. Falling again, we're 75, 29, 75, 28. The reason it's going so slow is it's reaching that peak of and high, or has just reached the peak of its high point. You start to see it drop now. It should increase in speed. Again, we're currently still at 4.87 miles a second, very fast. And that will create quite a sonic boom wherever it hits. Maybe more, maybe one or two, because it is so large. The best scenario hit out in the open ocean away from shipping lanes and hope there's not a stray fisherman or sailboat out there and get this thing down now. Because with the amount of aircraft we've got, and it's got to come through that aircraft layer, and it is so big, much larger than a lot of the satellites that we see. They've got to be really careful here. I don't know if it's fast enough or they would be able to hit it with the rod of God. I've seen those launch before in videos, and they're destructive as hell. I just don't know if it could hit a target moving this fast. But they could take it out with tracking another type of missile, possibly. I don't know about that rod system though. I don't know what type of tracking it has, or is it just like a bullet once you fire it? It may come over California, and it's going to be getting low. I mean, if it maintains and doesn't crash into the Pacific, it's definitely coming over California here. And it's not going to be that long when you start seeing this move. Again, when you see it near the poles like this, you're at your high points. When it gets close to the equators, your low points. Clive, it's kind of hard to say. I'd try to get underground or under something, or just keep moving. That I've never been in that situation. You definitely wouldn't want to freeze up, though. You'd want to try to think, uh, keep a clear head and think. So, Monkey didn't say anything about it on the show. Thank you. Um, it's not, a lot of people aren't talking about this particular rocket, and it is the largest object that we've ever tracked that has fallen out of control like this intact. Let me move. I'm going to move the map just a little, guys. Now, when I do that, it's stopping the track just behind this because this is the upcoming track. And guys, this is the one that we just saw. I'm doing this for the new folks, and it's coming in just north of LA. And go through Nevada, through just north of Great Salt Lake, up through that area, directly over Yellowstone. That's the tracking that they have on this particular rocket now. That uh, I think it seems. You said it does seem somewhat controlled. And that's what I was saying. Does it have some smaller booster rockets that it can try to maneuver somewhat? I don't know. We don't know that. Monkey said it was two rockets. From what it could be, it could have broken apart or something, but from what I understand, it is still intact. Yeah. What you're saying, the meaning of the Angara is interesting, and that's the name of the rocket, guys, that we're tracking. It's an Angara rocket with a payload. And if you can, tell us what you found about that name. Yeah, you got kerosene, Dan. You sure do involved in this. I don't think we're going to see an impact large enough for tsunami or quake or anything like that. Unless it, like someone said earlier, hit a power plant or maybe, but we don't know yet. Two separate spacecrafts. Uh, are you mean traveling together, or they're tracking two separate things all that are not part of this rocket? Oscar Razor says 761 tons. Trojan horse could be. We don't know yet. But, you know, a few years ago when our military was different, we may not be seeing this happen. I don't know. Because, again, George Bush Jr., I think, took down a rocket or a satellite that was coming over, and a Navy missile took it out. But things are different now. I don't know what this is all about. I don't know if certain people, I know NORAD knows about it. We're tracking their information, but I don't know what kind of disconnect between the White House and these other folks that we have now. We don't get any information. We don't know. Yeah, it is. That is the NORAD code 50505, and that's what's at the top of this. They're also calling it Persia, Persia is the one of the names for it. Well, Waldo, I don't know. I don't know about that. We wouldn't be told. And it would only be if he was near a possible impact area. The satellite web page, guys, I know it's hard to see here. I'm going to repost the link right here in the comments. Well, excuse me, that's Flight Aware. Let me get the satellite tracker here. I'll put that under. You'll have both. Yeah, the first link went to Flight Aware, which is we're tracking the airline traffic. The second one, the two NYO or N2YO, is what you're looking at now. Someone had that question. 88 minutes was a movie, and it takes 88 minutes to orbit. Interesting. I haven't heard of that. The Angara is a major river in Siberia, which traces a course through Russia's Irkutsk, Irkutsk area, Oblast, and I can't say all of that. Anyway, thank you. I think I have read about it being about a river in Siberia. Now that you say that, and yeah, I did have a question about the object that was on LASCO C2 that was appeared to be larger than the sun that's there now, and that is simply Venus coming between the Earth and the sun. It appears larger, so that's what you're seeing. It's not a large object coming from behind the sun. It is Venus. In Sanskrit means smoldering ash. Well, that's good to know. What a name. Predicted to re enter in the Caribbean. It won't make it on this pass. The North Pass, if it makes it through this pass, the next one would be up around the U.S. and Canadian west border, around Washington, Oregon, in that area. You can see how this map is progressing. The last path brought it through Texas. The next one we're seeing approach the U.S. is going to go through California. The next one would be again up around the Canadian U.S. border in that area. Tomorrow's a government drill for EMP. That's interesting. We know how those drills usually work out. We've also seen a drill from the World Banks, and you know what that is. Please hit Seattle. Don't say that. Don't say that. It could be innocent people involved in that. I don't know if it could. I don't think it will hit. And if it was, I mean, if it was a missile intended to break apart a seismic area, maybe some type of explosive tip. But this, I don't think that's what we're dealing with here, and it's probably going to be in multiple pieces scattered over a wide area when it hits. Now, the sonic booms will be interesting, and again, to me, the airline traffic, it could be critical. It's again dropping. See how quickly it's going. Instead of once every 88 minutes, you see the low. Now we're seeing it every few minutes, dropping back now 69.80 or 69.77 now. So it's almost bouncing through the atmosphere. that could be a UFO towing it camouflage. Well, I don't think a UFO would need that Russian rocket to help it out. I have actually seen 16 at one time, and they move very gracefully. They're not you wouldn't track them like this either. It's amazing. I was in Phoenix, Arizona in 2013, and the entire city saw what I saw. It was on the CBS News in Phoenix. I think it was April or March or April of 2013. If you looked at UFOs over Phoenix, we were actually on the edge of the city near the Gila River, very close to Phoenix International Speedway, and 16 dove right over us. And they were amazing orange glowing objects, probably 100 feet wide, round, glowing from the bottom, not like a light shining down to the ground. And they were moving like fish or like birds swimming amongst themselves. But, and I won't linger on this long, but if you look at the CBS News reports from that day and the filming, Um, they were in a pattern over the city of Phoenix, but it was like watching a marching band when when they're through doing their formation, they run out one side of the end zone. Guys, not they're not marching anymore. They're just trying to get out of there. That was the section I saw over the Phoenix International Speedway. They had come out of their patterns over the city. It was in a V, and then it was changing. So they were just ducking and diving out over the Estrella Mountains. And I put it up on YouTube, and a lady said that her and her daughter counted 16 of the same objects that had turned and moved north over Denver, Colorado. It was amazing to see. And all of these guys are not evil spirits. I'm not saying that all of the objects are good, but think about Ezekiel and the flying chariots and those things. We do know that God's angels and his messengers also use those. So you can't just classify they're all evil. That's not very biblical at all. Matter of fact, evil ones are never mentioned. It's only ones that are protecting God's people. Government will say aliens took the Christians that were raptured. Now, it sure won't be Jesus. Not unless you're right at the end of tribulation. Space is a lot higher. That's the 69. That's you're getting above our atmosphere. Monkey is saying a little bit on this now. Okay, good. Because if I could pull him on the side of this, he would be giving us probably very good information on the flight paths now. This rocket now is moving across the equator. You can see where the sun is now. It's not exactly on the equator because we're in winter in the northern hemisphere, but it's going to be moving very fast. As a matter of fact, if you enlarge the map, guys, you can see the movement much better. I'm going to kind of pull it up right there, and you can see how fast against from our view that 17,000 miles an hour is right there. And you can see it moving every few seconds. No, I don't think it's going to cause any flooding or anything like that. It's not going to be that type of event. It's going to be an impact event somewhere. And again, I think the most dangerous part now is getting through the level that these aircraft are using, especially the larger aircraft, the big passenger and military jets. This ETA to the coast, guys, couldn't be over 10 or 15 minutes at this speed. If it can orbit the Earth in 88 minutes, look at where it's at. Much faster than you think. Don't know why they didn't shoot it down over the water. We've talked about that. Don't know. It sure makes a lot more sense, though, doesn't it? Than to let it get over land and do damage. But we don't have leaders. In the Old Testament, it talks about in the end times we will be led by babes. It's exactly what we're seeing now. He's talking about mental babes. Look at who's in charge worldwide. It's ridiculous. You can't even watch the news anymore. It's sickening. I don't know why they would spend the money on transportation. They have their own agenda, and it's not our agenda. Okay? It's not ours. The agenda towards the human population is the exact opposite, if you've been paying attention the last year or two. Well, that is something to think about there. All the cargo ships that are off the Los Angeles port of Los Angeles and other ports also too. But it's not that far yet. It would be need to soon it was over some of these outlaying islands would be the time to take this thing out. The carbon they want to reduce, that's exactly right. And they said it. You'll have nothing and you'll like it. And you better think deeply on why you will like it. Why would you like it? It's interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. Yeah, you can see now how fast this thing is moving. So, you guys in Los Angeles, in 10 or 15 minutes, this thing is going to be coming just north of you. I'm going to pull the map up again close to the U.S. and for people that are just coming in now. And let's take a closer look at the California coast right there. There's our current projected path. Again, Los Angeles is here. Fresno is north of there. It's not going to be near Vegas, but if you're in Salt Lake City, guys, it's right at the northwest tip of the Great Salt Lake, right there. And it's once you get over land, you'll realize how fast this thing is moving. There's a couple others, Mr. Turner, that are reporting it. Not many though. Usually there's more than this, but I think it's because the new mainstream isn't reporting it for some reason. The Salty Lake. It's Russia's rocket share. Failed rocket that they couldn't get into orbit, and it is falling back to Earth. They launched on December 27th, if I'm not, or 26th, somewhere around that. Hey, Irish JG guy, I hope you're doing good, buddy. Right, the right path is the previous path. The left path is the current path. Right now, the right path, you see the yellow line over Texas. We watched that happen earlier. This one's what we're about to see is the Los Angeles path. Don't know if it's on fire, and we wouldn't know from this information here. Possibly what we could find out after the fact is some planes flying along through here, like they remember when the jets would fly along with the space shuttle, and you would see that come in, or you see a rocket crashing or something like that. That may be when we find out about that. The rocket is called NORAD calls it 50505, and they're calling it, I think, 13 Persia, the other name for it. But the NORAD designation is 50505. Yeah, this it was a big deal just back on the 26th or 27th when this giant rocket launched. Could go over Groom Lake up through that area. I have to look closer. And I'm going to back it out where we can see where it's at now as it approaches. Again, moving very quickly, guys. You got the Hawaiian Islands here. It's not very close. The next pass, if it can make it another one, it hasn't been predicted to. It's supposed to be down really over an hour and a half ago now. You could have it will be very close to the Hawaiian Islands if you look at a possible next pass. You can see the difference between these passes coming over Mexico and Los Angeles, and then just do that out again. Again, you're looking at north, possibly north of Vancouver, and across the Hawaiian Islands here. If it makes it another loop, it's going to surprise not only us but NASA big time because their clock, I don't think, and I'm going to check and see if they've reset it, has been at zero now for approaching an hour. Nope, guys, it's still at all zeros, just like the end of a countdown. So they're past their planning of descent here, as far as where they thought it was going to happen. And I guess they're doing the same thing we are doing, is watching it at this point. But again, their countdown it has zeroed out, so Shouldn't be much longer. It would be perfect now for this thing to hit the ocean because it's got a long way to travel from LA through Canada, back across Europe, back across the Middle East, and it needs to be an ocean impact. All right, I'm not quite through. I just took a break. No, that's cool. I got the mic off for a minute. Okay, guys, I had to step away from the board just a minute, get some water. Robert Parker saying at 78 kilometers, it will start to burn up. We are at 102 kilometers right now, 63 miles. That's low. That's probably the lowest point that we have seen. And reentry can technically begin again at 75 miles in altitude. That's the average. So you're going to have plenty of daylight along the west coast and up into Canada as this thing passes because it's going to start happening very quickly now. Don't know where it's going to re-enter. We don't know where it would start scattering yet. It's again, we're an hour past the NASA countdown. St. Louis Obispo, how you doing? Yeah, this if you seeing where when I zoom the map out, it's a little north of Los Angeles is the path of the satellite. If it were to break up, then you're going to have a wider path of debris than that. We just right now it needs to go down 6384 in elevation. And many people said, why don't they shoot it down? I agree. No, the red dot is where they think I'm located. Someone's asking that. That is where they think I am located, and several hundred miles from there. That's fine with me. Palm Springs, California, just east of Los Angeles, looking toward the pass zone, towards the San Gabriel. I've been to Palm Springs, actually helped build a cable system in Desert Hot Springs there about 30 years ago. I know the area pretty well. If you've ever run cable through the mountains, it's not much fun, but you get plenty of sun. The red, excuse me, guys, I had to step away a minute. The red dot is actually where the computer thinks that I'm located. And many of you know that I'm nowhere near that area. That's fine with me, like I said. Yeah, that's pretty good momentum, isn't it, Freddie V? 100-ton object moving at 17K. Altitude 63 miles. That's right. 64 now. It's 64.21. It started that bounce back, guys. See how quickly, instead of the long dips that we were seeing earlier, one rise every 88 minutes, one low pass. Now it's happening very quickly. So it's like it's bouncing off the upper atmosphere at this point. The red dot is almost where you are. I laugh out loud. I hear you, man. I hear you. It's hard to explain right now why it's gaining altitude because it should only do it during the 88-minute. It should reach one high point during the 88-minute period and one low point. And we're seeing multiple high points and low points having nothing to do with the orbit or the elliptical orbit at this time. That's why I'm saying the thing is like skipping a rock across a lake right now. It's what we're seeing. Yeah, that's a good name. A sky skipping. There you go. The visibility in California, I think it just depends, if the sunlight's just right, but it would be definitely easy to see if it starts breaking apart anytime soon. I'm going to put the footprint on this particular satellite, like I had it earlier, guys, and that will give you a little bit of idea of a possible forward scattering path. Let me get this thing back up. Sorry about that. And you can see from this that footprint is already touching the Baja and Los Angeles, California, but it's going to go just north of Los Angeles. My point earlier was that's the path of the main object. If it were to start to break up, it would be much wider than what you're seeing there. It is at 64, 98, 99 miles, 65 miles in altitude now. Each time it skips, we see it get a little lower, and it does not get quite as high. I've never seen one do exactly like this. Usually you get the high low passes, then this thing starts to dive. And we've tracked probably a dozen objects in 10 years, Russian, Chinese rockets, satellites, name it. You can see it, Enrique. Good deal. East of New York City. It'll take several more paths for it to get back to New York because all of these orbits are moving to the west, and you can see about how far apart they are. So you're going to be quite a few orbits to get back to New York. We're just going to have to wait and see. Now, this thing is approaching LA very quickly. I'm going to pull the map up a little closer. There we go. There's your footprint. And that footprint, I mentioned it earlier, but a lot of new people coming in, is if this was a geostationary satellite like DirecTV, that would be about the area that you could get uh, signal. Of course, this is a lot lower. The footprint of a satellite like DirecTV at 22,400 miles has a much wider footprint than this. But that's what you're looking at. And I use that because if it starts to break up, you're going to see the debris forward in that top section of this red line, somewhere in that area. Because at 17,000 miles, it's going to be a wide debris path. Yeah, it's just moments from going due west of Los Angeles at this time. Is it? Someone said it could. They think it's being guided. Don't know about the direction, but it could. There could possibly be some boosters remaining on there to try to keep it aloft to a certain period of time, keep it bouncing. I don't know, but it's so big and long. Again, it's not like a satellite with big solar panels and all of that. It could be holding together much better than we anticipated. It definitely looks like it because NASA said it would be down by now. It's a Russian satellite. That's what we're looking at. Possibly 200 feet long. Estimates up to 100 tons. 100. Let's see. Yeah, 100 tons. No, there's no one there. It was supposed to be a dummy payload, sending a dummy satellite, I guess, into space. That's what they're saying. I don't believe a word of that. Some say 20 tons, and that would be empty and possibly one section without fuel, but it didn't burn up nearly all of its fuel before they lost control. 20-ton payload, possibly. Yeah, there you go. You're already over Nevada, guys. It's approaching Salt Lake City. Like I said, when you get over land and you can see a background, you can actually tell how quick this thing is moving. Now approaching the Great Salt Lake. If our friend Roy Potter's out there, Roy, check it out. They see something. Yeah, it's definitely a rocket, not a satellite. Just north of the Great Lakes. Now moving into Idaho, Wyoming. It's about to be over Yellowstone. Yep, Russian collusion. There you go. I think we got Adam Schiff in here. We'll back this thing up, Hail the Leaf, in just a minute and let you look. I think it's going to be north of you, though. Uh, it's been a couple passes ago. It's just over the UK, and I think it's going to be a little further north before it dives back into Europe. Yeah, it's past Nevada now here. It's now in Montana, guys. It will be very quickly. It's going to be into Saskatchewan, Canada. Yeah, something, like a few of us are watching this, a couple other channels, I think, but it hasn't been talked about much, and it was expected to be already in the dirt or in the ocean, one or the other. I'm not sure about what Paul was talking about there. Marie, what footage are you talking about that was uploaded? This thing is moving so fast. Well, guys, a couple of folks are saying that it may have already crashed, and I said this in the earlier video that we would not see that event here. It could have, but I have no indications of that because we wouldn't see the breakup here. We would not see the crash point. It would appear to continue in orbit until they decided to stop this particular model. Okay, 18th Space Command, Sandra, has confirmed the re-entry of IPM 3 Percy 505 is what we're doing at 1308 over the Pacific Ocean. Well, guys, that would be exactly what we were hoping for a few minutes ago. Again, these models continue, and this thing may be down. Again, 18th Space Command Squadron has confirmed the reentry. Let me just put that. I'm going to put this up, guys, where everybody can see it. Sandra Granite, 18th Space Command Squadron has confirmed the reentry of the IPM 3 Percy, 308 Pacific Daylight Time on January 5th over the Pacific Ocean. That's good news, guys. Think about it. That's what we were hoping for. If this information is correct, I have no reason to believe it's not. Then this thing, it's over with. Um, don't know exactly where in the Pacific Ocean. Was it close enough to land where someone could see the break up? We don't know that yet. Were ships involved? Obviously. more than likely, someone had something close by when they realized where it was going to come down. Possibly Russian. Who knows? But thank you so much for that information, guys. Um, I'm not going to stop exactly yet and try to go verify that, but again, I have no reason to doubt this has happened. It makes perfect sense with NASA zeroing out their clock. So this is good news. It's fantastic news, guys. You don't want this to hit your home or anyone else's home and take their life or their kid's life. You don't want to see that. So um, I'm going to back out, guys. I think we followed this thing down, and we've watched the last orbits going down. Now, 13:08 Pacific Daylight Time. That would have been what, a couple hours ago, guys. We are now we're 5 p.m. Central. 13:08 PDT. Yeah, it's down. So again, I'm going to back out of here, guys. I'm going to try to look up information about the Space Command Squadron information, and may do a video on it a little bit later. I'm going to, again, take a break, go grab a bite to eat. Guys, I've enjoyed this. We're going to try to do more live videos. I enjoy watching the comments live like this. You can react without going back after the video where you can't really, it's hard to do much reaction other than, saying hello or whatever. But every one of you, thank you for coming. I hope we all learned something now. We learned that you never know, right? But we had a good conversation, and I appreciate that, guys. It's still tracking it. I'm just going to back this down to show you. And again, that's what we had talked about, was it will continue to track, and the other ones have, even after the bird is down. But staying over the Hudson Bay now, see that? But I think it is down. It should be. All indications other than this says it is. Notice that this is a minus 82 on the longitude, and the altitude 7.13. I think it's down. I think they were estimating that this part of it, but we'll see. We find out some more information. We'll be coming back on, guys. It's a heads up. Be safe. The comments will continue below the video once it goes directly to the YouTube channel. Heads up. Be safe.